And we are live! Hey everybody, and welcome to Ch1Con Chat! My name is Julia, and we are gonna get started in a second. Ooh, okay, so Ch1Con Chat, if you don't know what it is, Ch1Con is short for the Chapter 1 Young Writers Conference, and we do a bi-monthly chat with members of our team here on YouTube/Google+, to talk about all things writing and books and fangirling and just like literally anything. And our topic for this month is science fiction versus fantasy. Woo! So if the people who are here to chat today want to introduce themselves, we are going to get started.
All right. Well, Ariel.
Oh, Ariel's here. Are we going to go alphabetical as usual?
Yep. Ariel, you there?
Yeah.
Ariel, are you there?
Yeah,
All right.
I am.
Well, we've moved on to introducing ourselves, so you're up.
You're up.
Okay. I'm Ariel. I'm Ariel Colati. I'm the associate online administrator for Ch1Con. And I am now a junior at Sarah Lawrence College studying writing. So there you go.
All right. I'm Brett Jonas. I am one of Chapter 1 Conference's creative consultants, and I write young adult fantasy and superheroes apparently now. And I guess I'm 19. I go to college part-time, so I don't know what I am. So yeah.
You're a super cool human is what you are.
Aw, thank you.
Julia, is that you or...
I think alphabet goes JK, yeah.
I was thinking it.
I was trying to find the link on YouTube to like link this on Twitter, and it's not showing up for some reason.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I'll grab that after my intro, I guess. But anyway, so again, my name is Julia. I am the founder of the Chapter 1 Young Writers Conference. I just graduated from the University of Michigan this spring with an honors creative writing and literature and global media studies, and I am currently producing a play that's going to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and this fall I'm going to the Columbia Publishing Course UK at Exeter College, Oxford University, and I am extremely sleep deprived at all times. Alright, Kira, do you want to go?
I am Kira, and I have a cat who keeps jumping on the computer, and some ramen that keeps spilling on my bed. I am the master of marketing for Ch1Con, and I write YA novels. That's the thing. Yeah, and I'm graduating from college with my bachelor's in English in a week. Woo! 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 Yay.
Julia, did you get that link shared yet?
Working on it.
Alright. There's people asking on Twitter, so.
Alright, link is up.
Okay.
Yep, it's up.
Alright, we are good.
Oh goodness, we are... There we go. Sorry, I had it like playing back on me again. I was like, what is happening? But okay, we're good. Alright, so if we want to get moving on into the chat itself, our first question is, do you write science fiction or fantasy or both?
Well, I guess if alphabetical again, I kind of write both. Like, I write the weird hybrid genre, because my book has aliens, but they're, like, magic aliens, so, yeah.
Alright, so I kind of write both now. I was just YA fantasy for the longest time, and then this year I had a superhero idea jump out at me, so I guess that probably counts as sci-fi, since it's not really contemporary. Maybe? I don't know. I kind of looked at it in the sci-fi. Yeah. So, So that's actually what I'm currently writing. I started another superhero book last night, even though I wasn't supposed to be starting one yet. So, yeah, I write both.
Jay.
Yeah, I also kind of like dabble between. Hi there. So I have thrown in there, like the series I had, well, the book that I had working on, like had a like way to like erase memories, and that was a big thing in it. But then the rest of it was kind of more contemporary. The I'm writing right now is more fantasy, but kind of like fantasy. I don't know, like it tries to be scientific, but it's like stuff that can never be real. Yeah. Okay.
Alright. Sorry, I think mine's lagging, but of course it is because it's Google. What's the question? Oh yeah. Yeah, I do tend to sort of bounce around between sci-fi and fantasy. That's like my comfort area is kind of light speculative, so light sci-fi, light fantasy. I've tried going a little deeper with fantasy before, and I think I'm okay-ish at it, but we'll see. So yeah.
Okay. So next question. How would you define science fiction and how would you define fantasy? Like, do you think they can overlap as genres or are they different to you?
Well, I think they can definitely overlap. I guess there's a place where they don't overlap, like if it's something that's completely implausible, like I guess it's fantasy, and like there's stuff that's like traditionally fantasy, like Lord of the Rings kind of stuff, where it's like a different world and like epic fantasy and stuff like that. And then there's stuff that's traditional sci-fi, like there's really no magic. It's very set in like human science-y technology things. But like there's so much overlap that it's difficult to tell.
Yeah, there's definitely somewhere I think it overlaps, but for the most part, I generally think about it as two very separate things. I think of fantasy as being magic and dwarves and dragons and elves, and sci-fi as being spaceships and aliens and other planets. And then, I don't know. I think there probably is some overlap. You know, I've seen worlds before where it's like a fantasy world, but there is technology in it. Actually, I did write one of those, actually. Never mind. But I guess there is overlap. I wrote one of those. Oh dear. Forgot about that one. Yeah, I guess there is overlap.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely think there's overlap, but I always a good example for like telling the difference between sci-fi and fantasy is Star Trek versus Star Wars.
Right.
Because Star Trek is science fiction, as Star Wars is science fantasy. Because Star Wars has like the magical powers with the Jedi. You know, it's a mystical, religious kind of force, so it's something that can never happen. So that's. But then you have like. Then you have Star Trek, which like they have like their phaser guns and like aliens and everything. So they're very like similar stories in a way, because everyone always compares those two as being
right.
Like the two big like, but are technically two different genres. But then like yeah, so it can like seem very similar. Where like Star Wars, generally people think it's science fiction because it has aliens and other worlds and spaceships and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it has science fiction elements, even though it is a fantasy story at its core. Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
I feel like a lot of like, yeah, like sci-fi kind of like pretend to be sci-fi. Like I was saying with my thing, where like it's definitely a fantasy. I've got like a magic system to display that activate using all this other stuff I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. But like, even though it's actually a real. story, you know.
Is the sound
Am I
working
talking?
for?
Am I
like-
talking? Okay. Because, like,
Yeah.
I was just basically hearing, like,
Yeah.
like,
You were kind of a mess there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, okay. So, what I heard of what Julia said, I agree with. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about Star Wars being science fantasy, but that's totally
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Mhm.
I've always separated it as, yeah, basically fantasy is magical stuff, religious-y weirdness, and sci-fi is stuff that has, like, a plausible scientific or technological explanation. Like, obviously it doesn't have to be seriously in-depth, but if there's some sort of plausible thing. And so, yeah, there's tons of overlap because you'll get elements of both those things in plenty of stories. Superhero genre, I'd say, is definitely a major place for overlap, which is why it's confusing.
Yeah.
But then I think most people classify it as sci-fi, so I don't know.
Yeah. I think it also, like, I don't know, like, the way that the, like, fantastical element in this also kind of, I don't know, because most superhero stories in general, you know, it seems plausible, and then
Right.
they're interacting directly with normal story, but it's almost
From what I got of that, I think that's right.
feels more fanciful. Through it all.
I think I agree with what I got of what you just said. So
I don't know if I agree. It's mostly weird sounds. It's kind of
Yep,
sci-fi
that's-
sounding sounds. So.
I got most of it, I think.
Am I not coming through?
Kind of,
You're
but kind of
not-
not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder why it's not.
You sound kind of like an alien language.
Yeah.
We got some sci-fi going on here, guys.
Yeah, the sci-fi has hijacked the fantasy chat. Because, yeah, you're kind of hard to understand. But I think what you were saying made sense that I got. I think I heard most of it. I don't know if people watching heard most of it or if they're hearing, if all we're hearing the same stuff.
So, Brett, summarize what you think she said, then. How about that?
I forgot it all after watching all that. I was agreeing with it as she was saying it, but now I've totally forgot what she was saying after saying that. I thought I agreed with what she said. I don't even know what I just said.
Can you guys understand me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We have so much fun with Google
Okay.
Hangouts, guys, watching.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Google's great.
Okay, you seem to be back.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this really fast before it cuts me off again.
Okay.
So I think that another difference between sci-fi, like the way that people will define it, is the way the fantastical element interacts with everyday life.
Yes.
So if you look at heroes, generally they'll have a rational explanation for how they got their powers, and then they'll interact directly with regular people, like Peter Parker got it from the spider bite and then saves the people of New York.
Yeah.
Whereas fantasy generally is a little bit more removed from everyday life, so where they're like off at Hogwarts rather than, for the most part, interact
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep, very true.
with normal people.
Yeah, like in sci-fi.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, yeah, just like in sci-fi, often like they'll transform the regular world with their powers or whatever, and then in fantasy, it's like in a separate world that might interact with our world, but it didn't like completely change it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference too.
Yeah.
I think most sci-fi.
Unless, of course, you're in space.
Yeah, if you're
True.
yeah.
But I think most sci-fi worlds seem like they are plausible within our universe as we know it, as opposed to fantasy, which seems like a complete different universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one thing that I think of as differentiates the two. This fantasy seems like it's somewhere else, and sci-fi could be here potentially at some point
A long time
in
ago,
our known universe.
far in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, that was really interesting what you said about Star Wars being science fantasy. I'd never thought about it that way. I always like Star Wars is science fiction and Lord of the Rings is fantasy.
Yeah.
Like those were my two epic sagas. And then Indiana Jones is contemporary.
Yeah.
And Pirates of the
Indiana
Caribbean
Jones is
and Pirates of the Caribbean is historical.
Yeah, it's also interesting just further going with the Star Wars versus Star Trek thing, because Star Trek is based off of Earth, and then like it's people going out from Earth into space, whereas Star Wars is completely separated from us. It's a galaxy far, far away. So,
Right.
yeah.
But there are people.
There are people. However, I feel like there are people generally in fantasy, but
Yeah, usually.
Yeah,
Usually.
that's true.
It's true.
There's also Jar Jar Binks
We
in
just
Star
can't get
Wars.
away from us humans.
Yeah, and it also said it took place a long, long time ago, so I think they're humanoids, not from Earth.
Well,
Yeah.
they seem human.
But also, I don't know about Star Wars that much.
You don't know anything about Star Wars? Is that what you just said?
yeah.
Have you never
no,
seen
I know.
it?
No, I've seen
Okay,
it. I'm just not an expert in it. Like,
Okay.
so, yeah.
Like, you have to have seen it.
Were you
Yeah.
the one who just watched that over Christmas?
Yeah, I watched it over Christmas.
Ah!
I watched the original trilogy for the first time.
But that's
Yeah.
the best one.
It is good, yeah. I mean, I didn't see the others, though. I didn't see the
Someone who
prequels.
It's okay, you don't need to see the
Star
others.
Wars family, like, this just hurts me on a cellular level.
Yeah, my family's like a Star Trek family, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
My
the
sister was
prequels are
6.
terrible. Do not watch those.
My baby sister was 6 when we watched them, and she is like the most Star Wars obsessed
Okay.
person I know. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
awesome. It's adorable. Did we lose Julia again? She's the one with all the
Alright,
questions.
next question is...
Julia?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can hear you.
okay, there she is.
Can
Your
you hear
picture.
me?
Yes, there you go. There you are.
Okay, so next question... Okay, next question is, what are some of your favorite science fiction novels, and why?
Purely sci-fi. I read some like Isaac Asimov stuff. It's good, even though it's kind of dry. And then I've read like Dove Arising by
Nice.
Karen Bao was pretty good. I don't think I've read that much sci-fi now I think on it, but I probably would be able to think of more if I wasn't just trying to think of them off the top of my head. But yeah, like just stuff where people go into space. Oh, the Lunar Chronicles. That's
Yes!
good for that. Yeah.
But I think that's a crossover. I think
That
that's
is
one of the
a bit of a
crossover ones.
Well, all the magic
Yes.
kind of has a root in science and genetics, doesn't it? Though, like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
but it's
does.
fairy
Yeah, I feel like that's
tales.
definitely a crossover.
It is kind of a crossover. I don't know.
There's fairy
it's a
tales, so I
Fairy
mean,
tale retelling, but it's a sci-fi fairy tale retelling.
Yeah.
So
It's
Yeah.
It's definitely mostly sci-fi. Because there's
yeah.
all the aliens and robots and stuff. Yeah. But that's probably my favorite, yeah, for sci-fi.
That's a really good one. I
So,
totally didn't
yeah.
think about that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at my shelf right now, and I have Avalon by Mindy Arnett. I loved that one. And Across the Universe by Beth Revis, however you say her name.
Yeah.
I love that one. I love that one. And then I just finished the Arc of Illuminae that my friend Riker actually won at Chapter 1 conference last year. I just
it's
finished
really
that one
good.
a couple weeks ago, and I am in love, and I am dying to read the next one. It was so good. Riker kept telling me to read it, and I kept putting it off because I had work to do, and I finally had the chance to read it the other day, and I devoured it in like 2 hours. It was nuts. I just couldn't stop reading. So yeah, that's probably my new favorite, along with the Lunar Chronicles and the Across the Universe series. Did we lose Kira? Or Julia? Did we lose Julia?
There's 2 tomatoes.
briefly.
Okay. A tomato fell.
I think we just lost Julia, so Kira, you want to go?
I keep going in and out too, but that's yeah. Okay, so I.
Wait, is Julia back?
Oh yeah, you're back. Okay. If you're back, you can go.
Am I back?
You're back.
I can hear you.
We don't see you, we can hear you.
Yeah.
We see a tomato, but we hear you.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay. Okay, so favorite sci-fi books, yeah?
Yes, yes.
So, Across the Universe, Beth Reeves, what people said because it cut out on me. Now I'm scrambling now. I mean, so if you include like dystopian fiction within sci-fi, I think we all know that I'm a big Hunger Games fan.
There's Divergent too. I didn't think about that one. That one probably counts, right?
Yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah, the genetic.
I like Divergent.
Once it
Yeah,
actually
that one
got
definitely
suckers.
counts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Devil Rising's good. Yeah. Okay, Kira, you can go.
Okay. Yeah, maybe that'll help it a little bit. So, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
You're here.
Okay. Cool. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm a big fan of YA dystopian novels. That's probably one of my favorite genres. So there's a ton there that I really like. Obviously, The Hunger Games is one of my favorites. Big fan of that. Yeah, I like Luna Chronicles Across the Universe. The Unwind Dystology is a big favorite of mine, which I'm constantly recommending, and I shall continue to do so forever.
I don't think I've heard of that
Ender's
one.
Game. Real Neil Schusterman, go do it. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Ender's Game, a little bit older. The Handmaid's Tale, not really YA, but sci-fi.
That's really good.
Gosh, there's so many. I really like YA sci-fi.
Ender's Game is really good.
Yeah. So you could go to my blog and I probably have a ton of recommendations. Or my
Probably.
Goodreads. Just find me places.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Kira's read 1 billion books.
Am I the only face right now? Because it feels weird. I feel like I should go to my avatar too.
I think Kira's the only
You are the
face.
face of Ch1Con
The only real face.
today.
Okay then.
Your face.
Hey, Tomato, do we have another question?
Is Julia there?
Yeah, we have another question. So the next one is, what are your favorite fantasy novels and why? Can you hear me?
Wait, did someone switch me to my avatar? Because I didn't.
Can you
It
hear
just
me?
did that.
No faces. Yeah, we can hear you.
I didn't do that. It just did that on its own.
Maybe Google just wants it to be more even.
I think
I
Google's
swear I
just
didn't do that.
having it right, guys.
Oh gosh.
Oh, this is just great. Okay.
Wow, this chat's going really well.
Hey, Ariel, fantasy novels.
Okay, can you guys
Do
hear
it.
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I could hear everything.
Favorite fantasy novels, go!
Oh, okay. I have way more fantasy novels that I like than sci-fi.
Same.
I like Harry Potter, obviously. The first thing I think of besides Harry Potter is the Raven Cycle because now I'm obsessed with it even more.
Yes!
I love Percy Jackson. I don't know. Is that fantasy? It kind of is. There's also mythology.
Yeah.
And then there's the Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland series that I always recommend. Oh, and we lost the tomato. So that's
No.
no, it's back. She's back. I mean, she's not a tomato.
This cat is doomed to fail.
Okay.
I still don't know why I don't have a face.
fantasy books. That's it. I'm not gonna say anymore. I don't want anyone else to disappear.
Okay, so I have a gazillion fantasy books on my shelf that I love with all my heart. The one sitting next to me right now, because my friend is reading it, is Graceling, and
Oh yeah.
I love it so much. Looking at my shelf, I also love The Kiss of Deception, which the last book comes out this year. Snow Like Ashes was incredible. Sarah J. Maas's Throne of Glass series.
Yes.
And, so this series that I haven't seen a ton about online, but is super good, is Morgan Rose's Fallen Kingdoms. It's incredible. It's so good. It's so good. So the next one, it's 4 different people in these 3 kingdoms, and so it's hard to tell you what it's about because it goes all over. And there's like 4 books now, and the 5th one comes out on my birthday this year, and I'm super excited. But it kind of goes all over. But like, there's a princess and a prince and like a peasant boy, a rebel who like is trying to take his country back, and then there's like the rebel girl, and like it's super intertwined and super crazy, and it's really, really good. You should all read it.
Alright, I definitely second Throne of Glass and Harry Potter. Like, those 2 are like some of my top series of like any type of book. Rick Riordan's books are like really weird, like mythology, fantasy, crossover, weird things, but they're amazing. I'm trying to like look at the books that I just have like stacked near my bed right now. A Torch Against the Night. Wow. What is the first book called? An Ember Against
Ember in the Ashes.
Yeah. An Ember in the Ashes by Sama Tahir is amazing. I'm like looking at the sequel, so I'm having trouble saying the first one's name.
Go away. No.
And I'm trying to think. What else do I like? I read a lot of fantasy. I read a lot of sci-fi too. I'm just like blanking on names of things right now. Really, anything that like does like time travel or dimension hopping, I'm into.
My brother's in my room trying to steal Air of Fire off my shelf.
Oh, you know what I just thought of in regards to dimension hopping? Daughter of Smoke and Bone is a really good series.
That one's super good.
That's really good. I forgot that, yeah.
So good. Also, this year's keynote speaker, Susan Denard's Truth Witch, is incredible.
I haven't mentioned that yet.
I know.
It's so good.
I love Truth Witch so much. I actually, a friend of mine has borrowed it, and I'm dying to get it back. I need to get it back in time for the conference so I can get it signed. Actually, she's coming with me to the conference.
Brilliant.
So. Yeah,
well, there you go.
Yeah, Riker has it right now, so I gotta steal it back from her and give her back Illuminae. So I won't trade back until she gives me back Truth Witch. How's that sound?
Sounds good. Oh, Illuminae, like for sci-fi, I haven't finished it still because I'm really slow at reading. But like I'm like halfway through that right now, and it's so good and so
it's so good.
Yeah, it's brilliant stuff. All right, my turn.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I also read a lot of fantasy. Gosh, just go to my blog. No, Harry Potter, obviously, the Raven Cycle, yes, seconding those.
I forgot to say the Raven Cycle. I love those books.
I'm gonna say also. Let's see. There's so many books. And now my cat is in my Facebook. I can look at the list. Just 1 second. I can do this. I can. Oh yeah, Renee Audier, The Wrath and the Dawn. Really good.
Yes.
Fantasy.
Yes. The Wrath and the Dawn is incredible.
Yes. Shadow and Bone, Leigh Bardugo. I love that stuff.
Yep.
Roll Fire and Thorns, Ray Carson.
Oh my gosh, Ray Carson! I love that one.
So
I don't know how I forgot that one.
Yeah, that's probably like my most recent new favorite, even though it's not all that new, but like I discovered it recently. So
Yeah.
that is great.
I read that
Great
one. That was
stuff.
one of the first fantasy books
Brett,
I read,
your
actually. I know, my face
is
is back. I don't know what I did.
Look at that face!
Oh,
One
I don't know.
face.
I don't know what I did, but my face is back. So, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm done.
Are we ready to move on, or do you want to say anything else?
How about Winter's Curse? Is anybody fangirling over that one?
I haven't read that yet.
That kind of sci-fi fan. That's kind of crossover. But yeah, that one's pretty good.
Yeah, that one's an interesting one. I'm not quite sure. Like I know it's fantasy, but it does. I think it's like what you said. It's a bit of a crossover.
It's definitely dystopian.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
It's
I
hard
think
to
it-
define that one.
Yeah, it's good though.
It is. It's very good. All right, Tomato. I think we're ready to move on.
Okay. Okay, next question is, what are your tips for writing science fiction or fantasy, especially in terms of like world building?
Oh, I have to go first, right? Okay.
Yeah, you do.
Tips for writing. I write so much of it, but I don't have any tips because I just sort of wing it. No, don't wing it. I would say you have to think a lot about it. Like, you can sort of wing it, but then you're gonna have to think about it more as, like, okay, world building doesn't have to be like a really intense planning thing, but like it has to be well done. I don't know how to put that. That sounded weird, but like,
No,
you
it
don't
worked.
have to be
Like,
J.K. Rowling,
yeah,
but it's
know,
good.
yeah, like you can be a pantser with your world building as much as with your plot, but like eventually something has to come together. Like, and also
It has
like,
to make
Organize
sense.
it.
yeah, it has to make sense eventually. So like, I would recommend just thinking about it a lot. That's what I do to plan.
Yeah,
Like, at
same.
some point, I just sat down, well, in the middle of class with my notebook, and I just started writing a bunch of stuff, and eventually it'll come together. Just write, like, interesting background stories. Like, once upon a time, there was this guy, and he was a king, and he hated whatever. Like, eventually things will come together, and you'll have a bunch of cool ideas. And since you're making it up entirely, you can come up with as many cool ideas if you want. So if there's a hole in your world, just put something really cool there, and then you'll care about it enough to make it up. So, like, yeah.
in the world.
Like, oh, what do they do for food? Something interesting.
That's actually
Like,
really
what's the
cool.
historical thing? Something interesting. Yeah.
That actually really works, Ariel. So basically what I do for world building is so most of my stories start out as dreams. So a lot of it like comes with the dream because I'm in the world. But then when I'm awake, I think about it for hours and hours while I'm at work and while I'm getting ready for bed and while I'm waking up. And I mean, I just think about it nonstop until I feel like I could live in this world and I know everything. I know how it smells. I know what kind of festivals they have. Like this one world I have does a full moon festival. So every month they have a festival during the full moon, and there's bonfires and drinking and dancing. And I may or may not have written a couple kiss scenes involving full moon festivals. That was my favorite. Yeah, I just try to live in it in my head as much as possible. And when I feel like I've got a handle on it is usually by the time I've finished my first draft. So I usually have no world building at all in what I like to call my zero draft, which is my pantser drafts where I know nothing about the world and I'm just like, I'm going to start writing. And so I start writing and know nothing about what's going to happen. And usually there's a gazillion and one things that I thought I'd do. And then as I go along, they just end up dropping off the face of the earth. And then, like, towards the end, the world building is picked up to make up for all the plots that I dropped in the first half. And, it's a terrible disaster. I pity anyone who has to read the first draft of my novels. I Actually, I do usually have one person read it just to tell me what they want more of, so I know. But for the most part, I just write, and by the end of the novel, I usually have a good idea of what my world is like, and then in next drafts, I can actually make it all consistent all the way through to the beginning of the novel. So.
Nice. Yeah, like I said, I usually don't write like hardcore sci-fi or fantasy. Like I usually I do like speculative fiction with spy stuff, so it's kind of just like there a little bit without being very much, so I don't have to worry much about doing special world building. But right now, doing a fantasy story, like it's been a lot more with world building, where I did the same thing with the Zero Draft, where I like wrote an entire like 60, 70,000 words, having no idea what was going on. And then I went back after the fact and I was like, okay, these are all the things world building wise and story wise and magic system wise I have to figure out. And then like I spent like 2 months at the beginning of the summer just like handwriting notes to figure out everything, and I have like 60 pages of notes now.
Whoa.
Like looking out everything. Yeah. Like this, like I'm not a plotter, but this like story, and if it happens to get picked up, the rest of the series is like so freaking well plotted right now, guys. Just like because I had to work out how. I had to be like, okay, I need this thing to happen in book 5, so how does that work for world building in book 1 and like all that weird stuff. Like, yeah.
I'm running into that trouble with my superhero series because it's 4 books and they all happen so closely together. It's this group of siblings who are all superheroes. And so like, well, they're not all superheroes, but basically like they figure out different missions, and the missions all tie in together, and like 2 of the books, the love interests like become partners as superheroes, and like these 2 are siblings, and it's like so I'm having to plot out all 4 books, and I don't know what's happening. So yeah, like what you said, it's just I don't really know what's happening, and I'm having to plot 4 books at once to write the first one. So
yeah, it's annoying, isn't it?
It's so annoying.
But, like,
it's
Zero
so
Drafting
annoying.
is a really big help.
It is. Which is weird because I'm not a plotter, so plotting 4 books at the same time is killing me.
Exactly. Like I'm not a plotter. I rarely know what's gonna happen at the end of the scene. Like
I know. I never know what's gonna happen.
Weirdest thing. Yeah.
I know the end of my novel. That's it. And it usually ends with kissing. So.
Are y'all done yet so I can talk now?
Yeah, go ahead, Kira.
Because I'm going to just complain a little bit about how much I hate world building. I love books that have fantastic world building. Those are always my favorite. And then I try to do it, and I'm like, nope. Because I'm like I'm a global thinker is what the term is. I am terrible with details. I'm good at the big picture, but if I have to get in and think about like practical things like food and technology and whatever, I'm like, what? Does that exist? So, like, even in real life, I'm like, wait, I have to go shopping to get food? So, you know.
Just get Amazon to deliver it for you.
Yo, don't encourage my laziness. Okay. Well, I have that problem where I really like doing this, and I love writing these stories, and I love reading these stories, but it's really hard work for me to be able to figure out all the details because my brain just doesn't work like that. So that's partners help me a lot because they can point out stuff like, but what about that? And I'm like, oh yeah, and I can fix it.
Yeah, you know, like how they get water is generally something important.
Yeah, water.
I forgot that one in my last novel.
I hate that. Why are worlds like very complicated?
They really are. Like, you don't think about these things. And then someone's like, so, they're drinking water. How do they get that water? Because there's a creek running behind their house, but you said earlier it was a dirty creek, so... I was like, oh, yeah, there's a well, maybe?
Yeah,
maybe.
I think it was like I presented my book to the class, and people are like, what do they do for this? What do they do for this? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't think of that.
Yeah. Yeah. World building.
Oh my gosh, stop biting me. My cat is biting me because
I hope you're talking to the cat.
Honestly, though, if you think about it, a lot of...
This is the fact that we can't see it.
We can't even see the cat.
No.
He's super angry, though, because every time I talk on the phone, he's like, no, you should be talking to me.
We have to be talking to Spartacus, giving world-building advice to your cat. But yeah, anyway, even if you think about it, like, a lot of successful books have a lot of plot holes. Like, you always see those posts, like, things you didn't think about in the Harry Potter world, and sometimes they're wrong, but a lot of times they have, like, points. It's like, oh, yeah, that is a plot hole.
Yeah.
So, like, but you still enjoy the books.
Very true. You still definitely enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about the Divergent books.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're successful.
I was, yeah, I was like, I don't know. I was looking up something about world building and plotting and stuff while I was working on figuring out this series, and someone
We lost you.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything.
And she just muted herself.
Never know what you're gonna say.
Oh, she's gone.
She
just left.
We dropped the tomato. Yet again.
Guys, we're sorry for these technical difficulties. It's
there's people watching us and suffering.
I know, there's people watching us. Because they're tweeting me.
Oh, do you have any questions?
Let's see if we have any questions while we're waiting for. Oh, Julia's back. Yeah,
Am I back?
Julia. I think so.
Hey.
So you were saying?
I'm just gonna. Yeah, I guess I'll finish my thought. But I've read that people have called the Harry Potter series one of the most excessively plotted series of all time, which I thought was really interesting because excessive you never think of as being a positive word. So it must be people must be annoyed that she went to so much effort, which I think is funny because I personally think that's amazing.
Well,
that, she has so much of that world figured out.
Yeah, that's not annoying. That's good.
Yeah, but apparently people
find I don't care about the details.
Anyway, yeah, so our last question is just do you guys have any last tips or questions for the group and for our viewers?
Don't anger the Google gods.
They will make your chat miserable. I'm still the only one with a face. I was hoping one of you might join me by the end, but no, I'm still the only one with a face. I don't have any more tips, I don't think.
I just want to know if anyone on Twitter is anything. Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone on Twitter has any tips or tricks for writing sci-fi versus fantasy, for writing science fantasy.
Help me with world building.
With world building, literally anything, send us your tips. We will retweet and be very, very grateful.
Oh, that was one thing. Talk it out. Because, you're saying, talk with people on Twitter. Talk it out find someone who has time to talk to you about it and just go back and forth about your world and just tell them every little detail you can
tell
find.
You everything.
And have them talk back, because that was, for me, the biggest thing. I was telling someone about the Full Moon Festival in my one series, and she was like, oh, okay, so what's the Full Moon Festival? I was like, it's a festival? She's like, what do they do at the festival? I'm like, I guess, it's the full moon. She's like, thanks. You explained that. It's the Full Moon Festival. Got it. So I had to figure out, what they do at a festival. So just talk to someone about it, and that can be a huge help as you try and figure out just the little things about your world, because just having someone else's point of view will help you find the things that you've missed as you think about it.
Yeah. I know, I like to draw when I have trouble with world building and
Ooh.
stuff. I'll start drawing like scenes or characters, and it helps me to get my brain in the right place. And they're not very good drawings, but they work, and that's the point.
I can't draw a stick figure, much less anything else, so I use Pinterest for that. I go on Pinterest, and I have a board that I call character/scene prompts, and it has over 5,000 pins on it. So I just scroll Pinterest, and anything I see that I think is interesting, I'll pin it to that board. And then when I'm stuck on a project, I'll scroll through that board and pin everything that looks relevant to the board I have for that project. So I don't draw because I can't, but I have a gazillion Pinterest boards.
Yeah, I like try drawing every once in a while, and then it just makes me sad because I'm so bad at it.
You want it to look like in your head, and it never happens. With your characters, especially.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess that just about wraps it up. So, do you guys have any last thoughts, or are we good?
I think we're good.
Yeah, we're probably good.
I'm good.
All
I have a
right.
senior thesis
Well-
to write, y'all.
Ooh, have fun.
Go write that.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for joining us, everybody. And we're sorry for all of the many technical difficulties and the fact that I'm currently a talking tomato. So once again, this is Chapter 1Con Chat, which is a live chat that we do bi-monthly as part of the lead up to our annual Chapter 1 Young Writers Conference. We really hope that you'll come to the conference this year because it's going to be awesome. It's going to be in St. Charles, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago, on Saturday, August 6th. And we have really great speakers coming. We mentioned one of them today, who is Susan Denard, who wrote Truth Witch, which is incredible. We also have other awesome speakers coming, like Francesca Zappia and Jennifer Yu and Jordan Villegas, and like really you should just come to the conference and say hi to us because we think you are a cool person if you come automatically. Yeah, I am rambling now, so I'm going to let you go. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.